right, welcome back, everybody, to the booth. We really appreciate you all joining us today. And it is my pleasure to announce our very special guest. Welcome to the stream, Andrew Baeckstrom. BK, how's it going, buddy?
It's great. Thanks for having me, Parney. It's I've been so excited to see the Tuesday Night Eternal series grow over the last couple of months, and when we were starting to work on figuring out organized play for the next year, definitely seemed like something we wanted to incorporate because it's there's things that we can do really well in terms of providing a tournament experience, but that's sort of like we every single week lots of things going on, lots of ways to play. That is a type of experience that's so great when that's driven by the community. So, been thrilled to see how this thing has grown and developed.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for the kind words. We're happy to put it on. All right, well, I'm just going to let you go first. So we got this huge announcement about organized play. I know everyone's been really
Yeah.
looking forward to that, very anxious to hear about it. So why don't you just let us know a little bit about it, what went into it, the highlights of organized play, and what we should expect this year.
Yeah, so it was really exciting to get to announce our next season of organized play. It's going to be returning towards the end of this month with our first 5K Open. And really, the big focus when we were developing the organized play system for the next year was how could we make this series both deliver more on what people were asking for, who were already playing with it, and make it easier for the players who either aren't playing Eternal yet or are playing it but maybe haven't checked out one of our tournaments. And so, first of all, just the idea of just making it a super easy, simple experience in terms of what you need to play and do to qualify. Every open will qualify you for the World Championships. It's going to be nice and loud and clearly communicated everywhere on the in the client. There's going to be in the profile screen, you're going to have information about when the next event is. We're going to and so there's going to be lots of fun stuff going there. And then obviously with the Tuesday Night Eternal coming to it, that's going to be great, providing some World Championship invites. And then the idea of what's the best way to allow players to continue to play day in and day out on the ladder and contribute it towards doing well in our tournament series. And so if you reach Masters, when you join any of our 5K Opens, if you were Masters that current month or the previous month, you get 2 buys at the start of your qualifying games, and then you get your alt arts upgraded to premium. So just lots of free goodness for you if you just play and just hit Masters in any format. So lots of ways for you to sort of advance your progress, and then making it easier if you do well in the tournaments to sort of have a way to make it to Worlds even if you don't win. And so anybody who top fours multiple of our opens this year, we're going to be running an open about once a month, will automatically make it to the World Championships. And there's additional ways to, if you reach a lot of top 16s, to be able to parlay that into a greater chance at a World Championship invite. And so there's more information on our website about it now. But the big thing right now is hit Masters right now in any format, so you could start off that first open with 2 buys and get ready to play in our first 5K Open later on this month.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you for that overview. We really appreciate it. All right. Well, we got a number of questions. We'll fire these off. I know you can't answer all of these, but but do your best at what you're allowed to tell us. And if you can't tell us something, we totally understand. First off, so I'll ask the second one here. Will the timings for the open round and the top 64 be roughly the same as last year?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty similar. We're going to keep pretty close to that sort of Friday to Sunday cadence. There's a possibility there will be small tweaks to sort of things. We'll have the full detailed announcement about all of the timing for the March Open up soon. But yeah, you can basically expect a pretty similar experience to our ECQs. The big thing is in terms of what these 5K Opens are delivering is a sort of a rebranding. Want to make it really clear what's going on. The name of the tournament has the format info, how much cash money we got up for grabs, 5K in each of these, and it's open. So you don't need to have won a single match of Eternal before you sign up.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. All right, Stormblast, what do you got?
Sort of a similar follow-up question to timing and stuff. We have is the entry fee for open events going to be the same as last year, i.e. 35K gold, which I think 1,800 gems? Will you be keeping the same pricing structure for these tournaments?
Yeah, I'll have to double check on that specific one, but I believe it's going to be pretty similar in terms of pricing. And The pricing will be the same regardless of if you have a Masters entry or not. You just get those extra buys and those extra premium alt arts.
Cool. There was a little bit of confusion, BK, I think, on some people on the initial read about how exactly Masters impacts things. There was something about like making current month Masters, but then does that call you for the next month? And then I know some people had questions about Masters end of February. Could you provide a little clarity on sort of how exactly qualifying in Masters, what that impacts, and then how it affects like month by month?
Yeah, the best way to think about it is that it is a sort of a status that you will have now in the game. If you are Masters in any format this month or Masters in any format the previous month. So right now we're in March. If you hit Masters in Expedition, Draft, or Throne in February, you have sort of Master status. You'll have the Master medallion in the client on the profile screen soon. It is a status. It's not like a thing that you redeem and turn in when you sign up. It just means when you sign up for one of our opens, you will get the buys, you will get the premium alt arts. And so the big thing here is just making sure that if we do run a tournament early on in a month, say we have a tournament like at the beginning earlier on in May, we didn't want it to be so that like, oh, you have to hit Masters in the first week of May.
Yeah.
The general idea is that we're always sort of looking at the previous month. Were you Masters, you get that Masters entry, all of the upgrades with the buys and the premium alt arts. But if you did miss it in the previous month and you just want to try to hit it in whatever time period we have during that month, right now for March, you still got plenty of time before our March Open towards the end of the month. You can still do that. But the best way to think about it is that it is a status that is sort of either on or off. It is not really something that you like turn in.
Okay.
As sort of a quick follow-up before I get into my next question, I would just like to clarify, because I know some people have also had confusion with Masters impacting the fee, because the specific article said Masters won't, I believe it said won't change the fee or something like that.
Yeah.
Will having a Masters token impact the entry fee in any way?
No.
Okay. Okay. So I guess just going to one of the questions that I sort of have interest in, and I know people like Cassandra who asked the question also care about this. With the addition of additional draft qualifiers, is there an intent to include draft in the formats played for Worlds in 2021?
Yeah, that's something that we're going to be evaluating over the course of the year. So the past 2 seasons of Eternal Organized Play, we've sort of had one draft qualifier last year with our first sort of draft championship. So there's going to be draft opens this year, and we're going to be looking at the success and the participation and the experience that players are getting from that to determine if we can incorporate that into the World Championships for this year. So if you really like draft, make sure that lots of people watch the draft opens and participate as much as you can, and that will definitely increase the odds of drafts being part of the World Championships.
As a sort of related follow-up about draft opens, do you have any knowledge about how the draft opens will look like, i.e., day one sealed, day two draft, or all days draft? Sort of like we had Draft Masters in season 1 of Worlds, which was sort of day one sealed, I believe, and then day two draft, and then we had the draft championship, which was like 3 draft games or 3 best of 7s, and then day two was like the top 8. So do you have any knowledge about how the format of the draft opens will look?
Yeah, so that's something that we're still determining the final details on how the first draft open is going to work. But the intent of what we're trying to do right now is to have you just do draft the whole way through. It is the best thing about doing just draft the whole way through from our perspective is it's the easiest for you all to just practice. You get to play it a lot. It's going to be a similar experience, and so we're optimistic that we'll be able to structure the open such that it's going to be something along the lines of like 4 drafts. You play 7 games with each of your draft decks, and then that will determine your final sort of standings. And if you have buys one of your drafts, you will only play a few. Your first draft, you'll only play 5. That is likely how it's going to work, but we will have all the final details of that as we get closer to the first draft open.
Cool. Well, we really appreciate you incorporating draft and limited environments into official play as well, because I know so many people that really have a soft spot and a passion for draft events.
Yeah.
One question we had was, could you explain the reasoning behind the changing from 24 players last year to 16 players this year?
Yeah, so the structure of our World Championships, it fell out a lot from figuring out first what kind of events we wanted to run during the year and what would make the most sense fitting that structure. And getting to a more regular cadence of events of about once per month with these 5K opens and keeping that super simple for people to track made sense. That if we were going to have 9 players coming out of our 9 opens throughout the rest of the year, well, then it makes sense to do something around the range of about half the invites coming from that, and then half the invites coming from additional last chance qualifiers, the community tournament series, and 16 makes a lot more sense when you look at that. It's also, it allows us to do a little bit more intricate of tournament structures. We're hoping to go more into that for Worlds. The Swiss experience we ran last year worked okay. The biggest issue with 24 people is dealing with tournaments with a factor of 3 is a lot harder than a factor of 2, because you would very much like to sort of cut a quarter to a half of the field at any time. When you start getting into the range of like, I need to cut down from 24 to 12, but now I want to run a bracket, it becomes a lot harder to do. So this will work a lot better for us in terms of being able to set up a world structure that, one of the big things we want to do is make sure it's simple to track for the viewers at home and the players what they need to be able to do. Factor of 3 tournaments, like a 24-person field, requires a lot more, like the best record after X. And it's nice if we can just basically structure in a way where it's deterministic, that if you have this record, you will advance, and that's it. And then you could just focus on just, I know I need to win this to advance. And if I do, I am confident I will do so.
Yeah. I guess my sort of question is about, so there's sort of a community meme about communication and timings and when things are released. And one of the things that happened with the organized play announcement is obviously that you announced the dates of 3 opens at once, and everyone was very happy about that. So how far in advance generally will we know about the details or timing of future events down the line?
Yeah, our general goal is to make sure that we're at least that you at least know when the next open is before it's come up, so to speak, before it is the next one on the docket. Um, one of the big things is for us is striking that balance between scheduling things in a way where people know what's up, but giving us the flexibility to being able to move up products and release things as soon as they are ready. We want to make sure that we give people enough time to be able to purchase the new product, get the new cards, and still test before the event. And if our product release is in still somewhat of a flexible state, we want to make sure that we have some amount of flexibility with our schedule. So the big thing for us is going to be ensuring that you all know before the month arrives when the event is that month. And I think if we can do that, that'll be give you all a good amount of time to plan out your testing, prepare accordingly, but still allow us to get that new set, that new card bundle out as soon as we can.
About balance changes. So there's sort of two two different ways to do balance changes, right? We want to do balance changes around organized play events. Sometimes you do them before. Sometimes you kind of see how the organized play goes, how the big event goes, the open goes, and then balance afterwards. Can you talk to us at all about the philosophy of how you guys plan to approach balance changes with regards to the opens this year?
Yeah, so we generally aim to try to get our balance changes out early on in the month and sort of keep to that sort of cadence. It's the biggest thing for us is making sure that we are making the game as fun as possible in a way, and not and doing what we can to not stress people out about balance changes when they're coming, if they're going to affect the event. So we try to avoid, whenever possible, balance changing anything less than a few days before the event. The only real circumstances where we try to do that is if there is a interaction in the game that is really sort of breaking the game down. In general, we are going to try to do what is best for any given situation. So sometimes the formats are going to be in a spot where it's like, hey, we would really like to make sure that we could adjust some things so that the tournament itself will be as fun as possible. Or, hey, maybe let's let this play out a little bit. We think that this thing or this deck might be a little stronger than is desirable, but we've got some great tournament players, some great competitive players who have certainly proved in the past that they can figure out how to adjust and balance the format back out. I mean, I know that there's been plenty of times where we've had a balance change planned out leading up to an ECQ, what we're going to do, and then our tournament players come in and show us, oh, you know what? Actually, maybe there's some ways you can adjust to this. This deck wasn't as strong as people were hyping it up to be, or maybe there's something that's even stronger that we weren't anticipating. So it's just a function of figuring out where every given format is at the time and making sure that we don't want to get into a spot where players feel like if there is a tournament and there is a cool new deck that does well, hey, that just means it's going to get balanced 3 days later. It's cool to have decks that are strong and forget people an enemy to target sometimes, and it's just a matter of figuring out when are things sort of maybe gotten a little too played out and could use a shaking up versus when is it kind of fun to have a new villain on the scene for a few weeks for people to react to.
Yeah, kind of like like Rakano, the Rakano influence deck versus like Elysian, right? Like one of those decks got hit a little bit because like Ruffian might have been too much, but Elysian has been roughly untouched because maybe it's roughly speaking it's not doing as insane things as Ruffian was. Okay, so my next question is about the wording, specific wording of the article itself. So I know this is a question you might not be able to answer too many specifics of, but do your best. So basically, he's asking, is there going to be there's sort of like seasons of opens, right? The article sort of outlined that it'll be a throne, expedition, then a draft set, right? So is there going to be a new set prior to sort of this first open set? Otherwise, could you clarify the sentence in the article? Going forwards, each new Eternal set will be celebrated in marquee tournament events for each of our main competitive formats: Throne, Expedition, and Draft.
Yeah, so the big thing is setting the expectation that you can expect after a new major set is released that there will be a Throne, Expedition, and Draft sort of open to play, so that when a new set comes out, you understand, hey, if I'm really into this new set and one of the new formats with it, you will get an opportunity to play that. As we it is more important for players to understand that than that it implies we are only going to run 3 opens in between every major set, or that it is always going to be sort of following that sort of strict Throne, Expedition, Draft sort of cadence. We will definitely be looking to shake things up, and keep things moving as we discover what players are responding to. In terms of when our next sets are coming out, I don't have anything to announce for you all today. I know you all would love that, but I could say that I am quite busy working on and testing lots of new additional cards that will be coming out in the future. Don't really have anything more for you all than that, but there's definitely some dope stuff coming down the pipeline.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you sharing what you can for sure. One small one, and I know you don't necessarily work in this area of the game, but something that comes up in the community tournaments quite a bit is the sort of expedition direct challenges. We've seen a couple rounds today, flipping things off of Speaking Circle, or, sometimes the Invokers last year, things like that. Are there plans to focus on fixing that up a little bit so that these, especially the community tournaments that have world invites attached to them, that we don't have the flipping throne cards and expedition challenges?
Yep, that is definitely a feature that we have in our pipeline, and it is in progress. I don't have any sort of date to determine when that's coming out, but it is something that we would like to get done. And so, yeah, because I totally agree. Obviously it's not something that you can sort of build your deck around and sort of break the format because that, like, oh, I can get Torch off the Speaking Circle, but in reality I'm not supposed to. But it's definitely more faithful to the experience if your tournament experience can be much more like your ladder experience. So definitely something we agree that would be great to have, and we are working on getting that done.
We appreciate that.
I've often said that a lot of the times, a lot of the there are some exceptions, but most of the like Throne only cards are not necessarily that much different than an Expedition only card. Like is Torch that different than Seer Alpha Speaking Circle? Not really. Is Proselytize that different than like Styre's Beckoning or Mobilization? Not really. They're very similar effects in many ways. Okay, so the next question, obviously though I'd rather have the pure experience. I'm sure everyone would. So the next question is sort of a little bit of a departure from organized play. So about the community store. So community store, when it opened, had a lot of promise and has done a lot of great things. It had sort of that controversial original Twitch drop thing that I'm not going to go into in the slightest, but it was definitely controversial at the time. But it also has done, we had a card back revealed through it. We also have obviously one of the most amazing features, both the ability to design a card back and to design a card in there. So the community store has a lot of these cool interactions. Are there plans to expand it or update this in any capacity?
Well, if we expanded the design a card feature too much, it would put me out of a job because the ones that you guys have sent in so far have largely just all been really dope. I mean, Siege Train is just phenomenal. I'm so happy that one in particular just stands out to me as like what an awesome idea. As far as the community store, yeah, we would like to get some more updates for that in terms of some more things to buy. It's can't say that there's like an update coming to that immediately, but it's if there is there a particular kind of product that you all would like from that, where in terms of what you guys are hoping for from the community store, what sort of what's your on your wish list?
I don't know. You could do another like emote contest or something. We had an emote
Oh,
contest
sure.
that gave us some good emotes. Math is for blockers is one of the best emotes of all time.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay.
Maybe we get some feedback from the community as well in chat or follow up on social media. But yeah, we
Yeah,
appreciate that. That's something the community cares about for sure.
and of course, the tricky part is that there's always like what's it called? There's always like like there's always like expand this or whatever. But it's like how should we actually expand it? It's kind of like saying a Twitch streamer should have this as an emote, and it's like okay, but what would actually the emote look like?
All right. Well, I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
mean,
all the
there's
main.
always lots to do.
I think that's all the main questions we had for you, BK, that the community sent in. So thank you for spending that time. And anything else you want to go over with us, or any other questions that maybe we didn't ask?
Um, Whew. I mean, yeah, it's great. It's been a busy couple of months at Direwolf. Obviously, we've it's we've been all been adjusting over the last year to working from home, but it's been so great to just have the eternal community around to stay in touch with. So really appreciate everything that you guys do, and it makes the job a lot more fun for all of us. And it's been great getting to see people play Eternal during this weird year that we've had, and I'm really excited to getting back into the booth myself personally to cast the next Open. Those events are just a ton of fun, and it'll be good to have Corey around too, and have a lot of heads up moments.
That's
Absolutely.
right. I haven't said my iteration of that. I haven't said Skull Apex Maneuver today. I gotta get back. Thank you for reminding me, PK.
There you go.
All right, BK. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday to spend with us and spend with the Eternal community. So thank you so much for being here.
All right, back to work for me. Have fun, you guys.
All right,
Thanks
sounds
for having
good.
me
Bye,
on.
PK.
All right, everybody. Well, we are going to go for a really short commercial break real quick here just to get set up for the top 8, and we will have your top 8 pairing and the top 8, first round of the top 8, the quarterfinals coming up very shortly. So stick with us. We'll be right back.